Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Happy Tuesday, or whatever day it is that you're watching this. Don't have tons and tons of things to show you because mostly that's just because I've been working on the same stuff. Like, it's like I always feel like really productive when I get a lot done on the same piece or pieces in like a week, but then I feel like what I have to share is really boring because it's just like more of the same stuff. So it's like good for me personally, but like bad for my brand. I'm sure that people don't really care about that, but that's just me and my like weirdness, like how my brain works. So today I'm wearing my Shifty, which is an Andrea Mowry pattern. I made this 3 years ago. I think I learned how to spin 3 years ago. Wow, that's a long time. And I made it out of like some of my earliest usable handspun. So if you spin, you know what I mean by like usable handspun, like you have your first handspun that's like crazy trash, and then, I mean, it's not trash, it's just you're learning, and that's fine. And then you get a little bit better and like a little bit more consistent. You're like, I could use this, and you're gonna get even better, but it feels so good to have like something that looks like yarn. So I remember when I made this, it was like, I think I was working on it when I went to my very first Rhinebeck in 2022, actually. And I was 22. I was working on what was I working on? Oh, I think it was that Half Fisherman's Rib Cowl by Andrea Mowry. I ended up making it, what is it called? I don't know. It's like, it's not the Shifty cowl. It's like I don't know. I wish that maybe it will pop into my head, but I thought I should make that. And then when I started knitting it, I think I wasn't following the pattern correctly, and I was like doing too many increases, and I realized that like when I had like a big piece of it already done, and I was like, oh, I can't really salvage this. I was gonna run out of yarn. So I'll just stop knitting it. And I ended up using all that yarn for this Shifty. I just used a plain white yarn for the blips. So Andrea Mowry designed this sweater for Spin Cycle. I just, knitted it in my early handspun, and it's a bunch of different handspun skeins. It's just like all the same main color palette. So like a lot of teals in various shades, a little bit of purple, blue, green, It's basically teal, purple, and blue. And it actually really works, and it fits like a sweatshirt. I think the original one she made, Andrea Mowry tends to make stuff that fits really like close to her body, but she has a very narrow frame and like a super short torso. So like if I made it, it would look like that scene in Shrek 2 where Shrek is trying to swap clothes when he becomes a human with those random guys he finds in the carriage. Sorry, this is like really niche. If you've seen Shrek 2 as many times as I have, though, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he like puts on the clothes that are too small, and he looks like an idiot. And then like the other guy in the carriage is like, "Father, where are you?" And then they realize that guy's the same size as Shrek. And so he gets his clothes and he leaves the poor guys standing there in their long underwear. It's really funny though. It would look like that on me when Shrek tries to put on the clothes that are too small. So I think that I don't think I modified this at all. I just like knitted the smallest size because I knew that the yarn was like a DK weight instead of a fingering weight. And sometimes I will admit that I F around and find out a little bit. Like I probably didn't make a swatch. I was like, this will be fine. And it was fine. But if you are more nervous, you should make a swatch because there was a real chance I could have found out on this one. And luckily it turned out, I found out a good thing, that it was good, it worked. But yeah, I've thought, like, I remember after the first year of spinning, I was like, oh, and I made these sweaters. I made this one, and then I made a Sparky, which was another pattern by Andrea Mowry. It was like based on her Spark cardigan. And I made that with Durarum Natura Ulysse in Baleine Blue, and then like a darker kind of blue, and then this like brighter handspun that had like some neons in it. Again, early handspun. And when I like look at that sweater, I don't even know where it is. It must be downstairs because I haven't seen it in a while. But when I look at that sweater, I think, or I don't know, like at this point, I'm like, I would rip that out, honestly. Like I don't think that the handspun was good, and I don't really wear the sweater. And because the handspun was bigger than the was like, it was too thick for the sport weight base color that I used. It's like kind of has like just this weird shape where it's just like not, the yarns aren't even enough. And I remember thinking after I got a little bit better at spinning kind of that first winter, I was like, oh, next fall I want to make those sweaters again with like better hand spun and see how far I've come, because that would actually be a really good metric. And I never did that because I don't knit a lot of patterns more than once. I just like don't want to. I'm not really interested. But I do have like yarn to make another one of these if I ever wanted to. Like if I made it for somebody else, I would consider it. But it's this. No, that's not one of them. That was different. It just looks the same. It's all these skeins of John Arbin Harvest Hues. So I had 3. This is the old Harvest Hues before they changed the formula to have BFL in it. So I had 3 different colors of Harvest Hues. I had this dark blue, which was I think a special color, and then I had the like bright blue, and then I had this kind of brightish green, and those 2 are, well, they've changed the whole line now. Anyway, I made 4 skeins. I just like spun them all kind of fractally together, and they're all just kind of random, spin cycle style as much as possible. And it is actually like much closer to a fingering weight or sport weight probably yarn. And if I ever wanted to do this sweater again, this is what I would use. I actually have a quantity ready to go. I would use it with white, and it would be kind of like a more polished version of this, but I actually like this, so I don't really have a problem with it. But yeah, I remember saying that I would sell this, and people were like, I would buy it, and then I like didn't ever put it online to sell it. So I still have it, and eventually I will probably knit like something like this or something similar to this that's like a spin cycle thing. You know, one of those patterns by Andrea Mowry. I really, really like those. So anyway, the Sparky, I'm still considering tearing out and like knitting something else with the De Rerum Nature Ulysse, because that's such a nice yarn. I just don't really think I did it justice. I also had a whole skein left over, and I was like, oh, I should have used that for something that was like gonna use the whole quantity of yarn. I don't often think about that. Anyway, clearly I'm gonna have no trouble filling an episode with me talking, because I have not even talked about what I have knitted or worked on or finished. I did just finish the other day. I finished my Lydia Bennett socks. Sorry, I hang these like on the little tripod thing. Anyway, these are done. The pattern is going to come out on Saturday, which is November 1st. I will have 3 sizes. So this is the 64 stitch, the medium. This isn't the like technically the same as the one I'm going to release, because I didn't rip this one out all the way to the beginning. I just ripped it out to the 1x1 ribbing. And in the medium size, I'm actually going to have 2x2 ribbing. So the way that I am sizing this one is that I'm between all of these here in the size medium, between all the little motifs, there are 2 purl stitches. Now for the size small, I'm going to get rid of one of them. So it's just 1 purl stitch, and then in the size large, there will be 3 purl stitches. And that's so that I can keep the motif and make the pattern bigger or smaller. So the ribbing is going to mirror that. You will see, you know, like 3x3 ribbing, instead of, well, I think I'm going to have to do irregular ribbing. Yeah. I'm going to have to do irregular ribbing for, the small and large. So yeah, we'll actually see. I'm definitely going to have the medium ready to go for Saturday, but sometimes I will like release a pattern and then I'll do more sizing later when I have time. And I have a really busy weekend because of church stuff and Halloween. So I may end up releasing the small and large sizes later and just releasing the medium size on November 1st. And so, like I said, I'm knitting another sample. I'm actually really happy with this. In the bright green that I've been showing, that's kind of like a woolier sock yarn that I got years ago at Maryland Sheep and Wool. Just got through the heel turn and picked up my stitches, so I am onto the gusset, which is part of the foot. And again, it's like really woolly but it's super springy, which I love. I find that I'm a little hesitant to give socks away that are this woolly, because not everybody appreciates a sock yarn that is this rustic. I love it, but I understand not everybody does. So I might keep these for myself. So these ones have a 2x2 ribbing, and as you can see, this is just like nicer. It just fits into the pattern. It like flows right into that lace and pearl stitch pattern, which I think is better. The pattern is on the front and back of the leg, and then it will just be on the top of the foot. We'll have a stockinette foot, bottom of the foot, just like you saw in these. Yeah, so most of my socks are like that. Sometimes they just are patterned all the way down the front, and the whole back of the leg and back of the foot is underside of the foot is stockinette. But yeah, these are fun. The yarn kind of reminds me of like, so I knitted my Mary Bennett socks, which somewhere up there is the pattern if you want to check it out. Those, I released them a long time ago, probably like 2023, I think. Can't really remember. Maybe it was 2024. I think it was March of 23 or something. I don't know when it was, actually. I should stop trying to remember, because then I'll spend the whole time thinking about that. Anyway, yeah, it was, I released them, and I had a bunch of samples, and one of the samples was in this yarn that I had gotten from Vermont. I think it was from Hands and Heart Farm, which is in Vermont, and it was a sock yarn. Might have had nylon in it. It might have been a little bit fortified with nylon, but it was pretty woolly. It was like, I don't know, Romney sock yarn or something, and it was definitely rustic, and that it was pretty scratchy. And it made a really nice pair of Mary Bennett socks. I gave them to my mom because I knew she wouldn't care that they were like a little bit more woolly. Like you could tell they're wool, not that they're just warm. They actually feel like wool on your feet because they're not treated. It's just that they're like a non-superwash sock yarn. So this kind of reminds me of that. This is a little bit thicker. It's definitely gonna make a nice, cozy, squishy sock. I don't think I'm gonna run out of yarn or anything, but it's definitely like not a super thin fingering weight sock. You're not getting the 75-25 experience like I just got with my first sample. This is more, I don't know. I do like wool when it's this way. I like knitting socks with superwash yarn too, but this is just, it's like really fun when I get to do this. It's a little different, and it's like if you want to get yarn like this, you could get like Garthenor Snowdonia at the Woolly Thistle. I actually did a sample of my Mary Bennett socks in Garthenor Snowdonia as well, in this like beautiful light gray color. They have colors now. I've knitted 2 pairs of socks in Garthenor, well, three pairs of socks in Garthenor Snowdonia. One of them I used the same skein twice because I had lots left over. And yeah, I really like that yarn, but they have the colors now. I've just only ever used the naturals. And it's also nice and woolly. It's not treated. It just feels like real wool in your hands. And I think people know what I'm talking about. And some people probably don't want that. That's fine. But if you do, you can get that yarn at the Woolly Thistle. The link is somewhere up there. And it's also kind of reminiscent of like Daughter of a Shepherd Drover or John Arbon Exmoor sock. So those ones are 3-ply. They're both spun by John Arbon. Worsted spun yarns. And they're both fortified with a little bit of nylon. Garthenor is Snowdonia, at least when I knitted with it was a 2-ply. It was more like this. The 2-ply experience to me with woolly sock yarns is very different from the 3-ply sock experience. I find that the 2-ply yarns can be thinner, more like fingering weight yarn rather than like sport weight yarn. The 3-ply ones like Drover and Exmoor are a little bit closer to sport than they are to like a light fingering weight, but they're still like, you can still knit your socks normally and they'll fit. So yeah, that is my experience so far with these. Really enjoying them. I'll probably have one of these done by the weekend and be able to kind of block it and photograph it. And then I may have to put the second one on hold to knit my Mrs. Bennett socks, which I'm going to make next month. And as I said, they'll be done in this color Frost of Stroll from Knit Picks. This is just a pretty color that I thought would go with December, and I am trying to just knit all my sock yarn down. So I did buy those 2 skeins from Magpie. And I had some plans initially to use those for some socks, but I haven't actually made any moves to do so, and I don't know. Maybe next year I'll use them. It would be fun to try to knit all of my sock yarn next year, just for fun. I probably, if I was really, really, really focused on socks, I'm sure that I could. I probably have like 15 to 20 skeins of sock yarn in there, and I've probably knitted twice that many socks in a year before, if I'm being honest. But those were different times. Those were times when I was knitting much more frequently than I am now. I feel lucky to have more going on in my life now too. So yeah, socks are going. They're socking. I thought that I had like kind of lost my sock mojo a little bit, and then I seem to have picked it back up. Once I just needed something fresh, and the color is fresh, and the feeling of this really woolly yarn is fresh, and I don't know, I like this pattern a lot. So it's not out yet. I should have timed this so that it would come out on the same time, but then I would be releasing an episode on Saturday, and that would be weird. So I will next week have the Lydia Bennett socks, like up there somewhere. But right now, I'll post on Instagram that they're out on Saturday, and then I will have another video next week where I tell you that they're available. Ooh, excuse me, and you can go get them, which will be fun. So that is great. I have to keep an eye on the time here because I have bread in the oven. I have to go down and take the lid off the Dutch oven. So here is my next Fair Isle update. So I'm just gonna quickly put the stitches back on the needles here because they have fallen out. One of my favorite things about Fair Isle is that when the stitches slip off the needles, they don't ladder, because when you use Shetland wool or any non-superwash wool in general, it's so sticky, it doesn't go anywhere. This is why steeking works with non-superwash yarn. People are always afraid to cut their knitting. I'm like, have you ever seen Shetland yarn fall off needles? It doesn't do anything. Like, you have to really get it to, like, you know, you have to maneuver it if you want it to ladder. You gotta pull. It takes some human effort there. So I have gotten through another band almost on this sweater. I don't know what we're doing here. There's just yarn everywhere. Okay. Nice thing about Fair Isle is that there's only ever 2 colors at a time, but sometimes a third color is attached because you're like about to start using it, which is usually the case here. Whatever. Like the light gray, I'm like, oh, that's my next background color, so I shouldn't cut it because I'm gonna need it in 3 rounds, and it's just a waste to have to weave in another end. So I have completed this OXO and this OXO. It's getting longer. Definitely excited about it. I talked a little bit about how it looks different, you know, because like this band looks different because there's a lot more white, and the white is coned rather than skeined. So this will look more full after I wash I soak and stuff. Soak the piece and to block it. But people were like really excited to see this last week. I was glad. Somebody asked me if there were 3 colors in a row, and I said no. So I'm going to show it to you really closely if you want to see it, and I'll hold it here for a minute. It is sometimes hard to see Fair Isle colors because they're so, you know, sometimes the shifting is really subtle, but yeah, I think that it can play tricks on you. And that's, I think, some of the visual excitement of Fair Isle, is that it can do that. And I think these darker stripes at the edges of these are also really fun visually, very engaging. So yeah, I'm just having a good time with this. You know, I haven't knitted on it in a few days, but I tend to like pick it up for a few days, put down for a few days. So maybe that's just my vibe with Fair Isle right now, is not like to put it down for a month. It's just to put it down for a few days and then pick it back up. Work on something else, pick it back up, you know, and kind of having 2 projects right now. I mean, I have a third. I'm also doing that hay sweater, and I have that Lopi sweater that I'm just kind of intermittently working on. But having a couple things that I am just kind of rotating between, and getting a few days to focus my attention on one thing and then a few days to focus my attention on the other thing. That can be sort of helpful for me, I think. Although I do have to kind of get back to my cup cozies in the next couple weeks. I really need to get a few of those done. I would like to have like at least 10 done to send to my aunt. So next week, I'm saying it here, I need to have those cup cozies done. And I'm saying it here, it means I just really need to like, get my act together and like cast one on and get like half of it done, or maybe a whole one, because my next week is really busy. I have a lot of church. That's because it's the beginning of November. So the three busiest times for a church musician are, or people who work in the church, in the Catholic Episcopal type of church, are Holy Week, the few days leading up to Easter. We have church every day. So that's my busiest week. But usually this next little half week, I guess, is the second busiest to Holy Week. So that includes All Saints Day, which is November 1st, and All Souls Day, which is November 2nd. So that's a two in a row feast wham bam combo. And this year, All Saints Day, November 1st, is on a Saturday, and All Souls Day, November 2nd, is on a Sunday. And because of the nature of the church where I am now, they do not want to celebrate those feasts on the actual days of those feasts. They want to transfer them. So sometimes churches can do that if they want to. You can transfer the feast to like the day before or after, or another time completely if like, I don't know, Good Friday and the Annunciation are on the same day, which has happened, and John Donne wrote a beautiful poem about it if you want to read that. It is, yeah, you can transfer it to a different day. That's fine. So we're transferring All Saints Day, November 1st, to October 31st, Friday night, Halloween, which is going to be fun. And then we are transferring All Souls Day to November 3rd, Monday, and doing the Duraflame Requiem that night. So the funniest thing about this is that like I have to go to church Thursday, Friday, don't have to go Saturday, Sunday morning for regular mass, and then Monday night. And the hardest one of those is going to be Monday night, the last one. Yeah, we're going to do the Duraflame Requiem. And Monica, who's probably watching this because she told me that she watches it every week. And I was like, well, I'm just going to start talking to you through your TV and it's going to feel really weird. Monica's playing the Duraflame Requiem. Somebody else is conducting, and it is a really hard piece to play. So Monica, you're doing a great job. And we're having a good time. It's really fun to get to do this. We're really lucky that we have this amazing opportunity. And, but we're going to be real busy this weekend. So I don't know how much knitting is actually going to happen because, sometimes I'm like, I have downtime at church. I like to get there early if possible, especially before a mass in the middle of the week or, not on a weekend. But Monica and I spend the whole time eating and complaining. So, yeah, not a whole lot of knitting. And we ask each other, like, are you knitting? Yeah. Are you knitting? No. Not this week. I'm too busy. But Monica did finish her red sweater, and they got to take Christmas card photos while she was wearing it, and it looked very good. So never fear. Hopefully she'll come back on in less than 2 years, 2.5 years, to tell you all about whatever she's knitting next. But she needs to cook up her next project. Monica, get on that. Get on that. Okay. Sorry, I just had to, you wouldn't have seen a pause, but I did just pause the video because I needed to go take the lid off the Dutch oven. My bread is in the oven. I think I talked about this before. I used to be kind of into sourdough, but sourdough is really finicky and like feeding the starter and stuff. And honestly, like as a leavening agent, the sourdough just does not work as well as yeast. And I'm like, yeah, sourdough is delicious and I love it. It's fun. And it was a fun challenge to like use it. But I was like, you know what? I don't have time to mess around with a starter right now. I'm just going to use yeast and make like crusty, no knead bread with yeast. So I found a recipe. And this was a few weeks ago. and I made one loaf that was like half bread flour and half spelt flour. And it was just like 4 cups of flour, cup and a half of water, 10 grams of salt, half a tablespoon of yeast, instant yeast. You just mix it, no kneading, just mix it. It's pretty wet. It's like a shaggy wet dough. Leave it on the counter, not even in the fridge. You could leave it in the fridge, it would take even longer and would get probably more flavorful, but leave it on the counter for like 12 to 18 hours until it has doubled in size. I probably could have like let it rise longer, but I just wanted to bake it during this hour. And then when you're ready to bake it, you shape it just by like folding, with flour on your hands and flour on the counter. You just fold and fold and fold and fold and fold until it's like a tight round ball. And then you put it in, I usually put parchment paper in the like whatever the bowl is called with the like ridges on it. I don't know what that's called. I have one. And to like rise for the second rise, cover with a tea towel, half an hour to an hour before you are going to bake it. Turn on the oven to like 450, 475. Put the Dutch oven in the oven to get that Dutch oven real hot. And then you, when you're ready to bake it, you score the bread. So I usually use scissors because I'm not fancy. I score the bread by making a cut, and then sometimes I make smaller cuts for decoration just because it's fun. Never turns out pretty, but it's fun. And then you put it in the Dutch oven with like, you lift it with it's in parchment paper, and you like take it like in a sling and you just put it in the Dutch oven, shut the Dutch oven, put it in the oven for like 25 minutes, come back, take the lid off of the Dutch oven, keep the bread in the oven, and then it browns nicely. So that's how I make bread, if you're wondering. Anyway, the first time I did it few weeks ago, it was delicious. And then I did it again 2 weeks ago. But I tried to make a double batch and that didn't work. So I probably could have made 2 doughs and then put it all in the same container when I was done. But like I didn't, it was a mess to do it with that much flour and water and not kneading it. And I ended up kneading it and I ended up putting more water and it was way too wet. It was just an absolute mess. And I did bake it and it turned into bread, but it was just like not quality. It tasted fine, but I was like, I was really disappointed. And I had so much of it because I made 2 loaves and I was like, we're not going to fly that close to the sun anymore. Just one at a time is going to be fine. So spelt, I did half bread flour and then the other half, so I did 1 cup of spelt flour and 1 cup of rye flour for this loaf. So hopefully it turns out really delicious. I'm sure it will. And yeah, that's my bread adventure for the past couple of weeks. So yep, I've just been kind of plugging away at the pink socks, now the green socks, and then this Fair Isle, and just kind of switching back and forth throughout the week. Tend to spend the weekends working on the Fair Isle because I have kind of longer, time to just sit, which is nice. But it is a busy time. Like I said, we have All Saints, All Souls this weekend, and then I've had a lot just going on with like running and stuff, just busy. So yeah, we'll see what happens in the next week. I might not have a whole lot of time to knit. And you know what? Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it makes me feel better to come back to knitting after like a week where I haven't been able to knit as much as I want. And I'm like, oh, I love this. It makes you like find a new appreciation for your hobby. So I try to be thoughtful about that. But I'm also heading into a taper because I have a marathon coming up on the 16th of November in Scottsdale. So I did my last 20 miler on Saturday. So I did 2 20-milers for this block that were separated by 2 weeks. And then I did that half marathon race in the middle that did not go well. But both of my 20-mile runs went really well. So that bodes really well for the marathon. Fueled properly. I did my thing. I kept it pretty easy. And like time on feet, my feet didn't hurt. My legs didn't hurt. Didn't really have any issues with any parts of my body getting injured. So that was really awesome. And I feel really lucky that my 20-milers went so well. I've never had 2 20-milers go that well. So, my body is getting used to this kind of crazy stuff that I'm putting it through, but I also think it might be a nice time to take a break from marathoning after this one. So, take a, maybe not for another year. Maybe we'll do another one next fall, but take the spring off, run a fast 5K, fast half marathon, that kind of thing. So because I'm in a taper, that means that I'm running a little bit less, and then I will be running a lot less, and I'm going to have a lot of knitting time. And I tend to, during the end of my tapers, go a little crazy because I'm not running. And that is a normal thing. And I will be knitting a lot because I'm going to have a lot of energy that I will be channeling into something. I need to channel it into something, and it'll probably be knitting. So yeah, I haven't decided what to bring on my trip. Usually I just bring like 1 or 2 small things on trips so that I really force myself to work on them. So I don't know if I want to bring my Fair Isle project because there's so many small balls of yarn. I don't really want anything to get lost, and it's complicated, so we'll see. I might end up bringing socks and like a vanilla project, just, you know, to kind of chug away on something. Maybe I'll bring that Lopi sweater to just get it finished. That would be nice. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see what I'm feeling when that comes up in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2.5 weeks, I guess. We leave on Friday. My friends and I, Keegan and Jessa and I, are going together. So I'm really excited, and we're going to get to hang out with my uncle who has a pool and a hot tub, which is, he lives in Tempe, so not super far from Scottsdale, and we're going to get to go to a special screening of Wicked. That's early. I'm so excited. Yeah, so lots going on here, but right now I need to focus on knitting those little cup cozies. I need to have more, so I'll be sending my aunt a bunch of those for her pop-up on Black Friday. I think it's on Black Friday. I keep saying that, and I realize I keep not asking her. But I think I'm gonna try and ship her a container of like 16-ounce hot cups so that people can actually purchase the cup cozy with a cup that it fits on, because I think that might just be nice. So yeah, we'll see where the spirit moves in terms of color palettes for those. I'm excited to experiment with what I have in my scrap bucket, as I always am. Maybe I'll do some neutral ones. That could be new and fun and different. Maybe I'll do a monochrome one. Maybe I'll do like a monochrome one that's like black and white with just a red stripe in the middle. That could be fun. Lots of options. So I am gonna stop recording because, oh wait, no, I have one more thing to talk about. But I do kind of just want to like get myself in a good headspace for that. One more thing though is that I did decide that I wanted to spin the other night. I don't know, just like, it was Saturday. It was probably Saturday during the day, and I was like, I need to do something else other than sit in my bed and knit. And so I sat at my desk and I spun. And I found I think I did this on Sunday actually after I came back from church. I found this BZB Fibers Manx. I think this is pronounced Lofton, but I don't know. Loaghthan. Logaton? Well, I just assume it's like Lofton. This is like a name that you would see on, if this wasn't a historical name, this is like something you would see on r/tragedy. If you know what I'm talking about, then you really know what I'm talking about. r/tragedy is a Reddit thread where people share like the worst names they've ever seen, and tragedy is spelled TRADEIGH. So like, you know, I don't want to like make fun of names because people might be named those things, but it's like, you know, just terrible names. And like spelled dumb. Like Ashley is spelled with LEIGH, but like that's fine. Like people can be spelled out like that. Like that's like a normal thing, but it's like, you know, adding an LEIGH when you shouldn't is most of tragedy. r/tragedy. But I shouldn't make fun of that because all names are fine and valid and beautiful. But Manx Lofton does seem like something that they might, if it didn't already exist, that name would end up on r/tragedy. Anyway, about the yarn. I should stop offending people. About the yarn. About the wool. It's got a nice halo. I've never spun with this before, and this is from BZB Fibers. It's just like a 4-ounce little package that I've had hanging around for a while. I have this big bag of like undyed fiber that is just like mostly in bigger quantities, like 8 ounces or, you know, something, or 16 ounces. But then I have these 4-ounce packages as well. So 4 ounces is like about the size of a standard skein of yarn. And I am almost done with the first bobbin, so I just divided this in half. It's a beautiful color, so natural color, and I have been enjoying this spin quite a lot actually. Just really you know, sometimes I find spinning just meditative. I feel like I haven't spun in a long time, and so my spinning is getting a little more erratic, and I would like it to be a little bit more consistent, and so practicing a little bit more might be helpful. But you can see that little halo there. The problem with my handspun is that I spin and I spin and I spin and I never use it. Like, I don't know why. It's because I always have so many other projects going, and so I am trying to do better about that, but it's hard. I don't always want to knit with handspun because I just have so many other things going. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I'm like, oh, well, there are so many things to knit and I just don't have the time like I used to, I guess. You know, when I learned how to spin in 2022 again, it was before I started my church job and wasn't running very much and just was different. Life was different, and I had more time to knit with my handspun. So, you know, making handspun is fine. It's just gonna sit there until I want to use it. So, or I give it to Monica or whoever. You know, I have lots of friends who knit, so there's always people that are happy to take handspun and use it. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. That's Meg's spinning that I'm doing. So I'd like to spin maybe some darker fibers too. I've got a bunch of like really dark browns. Maybe do some natural color work with like white and black, or white and brown, or white and light brown and dark brown. Yeah, and just, you know, have some fun with spinning and practicing spinning. I really have mostly been using my e-spinner. I still have to fix my matchless, and I do use the Ashford sometimes, but not that often. So yeah, just doing my thing. Spinning one and the spirit moves. But yeah, okay, that's really it. I do not have much else to say. Except thanks for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye!